Thank you for staying with us. Still this morning on ITV, reaching you live from Benin City, Nigeria. My name is Ugochukwu Bamidili. Just before we delve into the main issue this morning on the program, just quickly, if you followed our news and then an update yesterday also, we talked about, or we reported an accident that happened on Siloko Road, particularly Olea Market, involving a commercial bus that rammed into a truck, a stationary truck on the road, a tipper actually. Now, a report reaching us as at this morning says that, one of the victims of that fatal accident is lying critical in the hospital without care. All right, so if you know someone that left the house, and has not returned, or just maybe you're a parent and, your child left the house, or a family member left the house and hasn't returned, I think you should get down to a central hospital here in Benin City and find out if, you're related to that person, or if you know that person, or if you can help that person, because I think you don't necessarily have to know somebody to help. But if you can help, then, find your way down there and help. All right, show some concern. It's humanity involved here. We hear the person had a broken limb and needs to be attended to. So please, if you can, find your way there and help. Now quickly, let's get straight to the business of the day. We're going to be looking at the issues arising from President Muhammadu Buhari's declaration on Monday to run for a second term as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, if you remember very well, prior to Monday's declaration, there's been a whole lot of issues, especially with regards to strong disagreements by party elders over the future of the leadership of the party by the national chairman, John Odigo-Yegun. Now, there's also been rumors of the fact that the national leader of the party, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had led a battle quietly, supported by some superpowers within the party, to append permutations for an extension of tenure of the National Working Committee and other elected officers of the party. Now, if you remember very well also, President Muhammadu Buhari came out to state clearly that he wasn't in support of the tenure elongation, and then a committee was set up headed by Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, to look at the issue and look at the future of the Odigo-Yegun leadership of the party. Now, however, surprising to some persons and expected from some quarters, on Monday during the National Executive Committee meeting convened to deliberate on the report of Governor Simon Lalong, the president took the opportunity to declare his interest to run for a second term for the highest office of the land. That's talking about the office of the president. All right, a whole lot of people have waited for that. Some persons thought he was just never going to. Some other persons have said, okay, his body language has always shown that he was interested, but was waiting for the right time. Big question is this the right time? We're going to be looking at all of this morning on TMI. Joining me to do justice, I've got two legal practitioners. One of them particularly interested in the environment a whole lot, talking about Barrister Chima Williams. Many thanks for joining me this morning. Thank you, good. Okay, and also a legal practitioner, civil rights activist, public affairs analyst, political analyst, Barrister Abraham Obiawi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers.
Okay, so let me start. The big question. Were you surprised by the president's declaration?
Well, for me, there is no element of surprise.
Okay, so you saw it coming?
Yeah, because you have to look at the intrigues that have been playing out, and then you know that it points towards one direction. And the fact that the party on itself, on its own, what is the reason of all the shenanigans that, have taken place? Tenure extension, rejection of tenure extension, praying for an opportunity, for waivers for the ESCO members, to be allowed to contest if they so wish. All these are politicking. Okay?
But all of this, I don't know, are all of these big issues
Yeah, for a party, it is a big issue
Okay.
because your ability as the leader of the party, which the president is,
Okay.
to have absolute control of the party structures, determines your fate in the party as the leader of the party. Okay, so if you do not have absolute control, so to say, in question, then it becomes difficult for your intentions, or aspirations to be actualized by the leadership. Don't forget that, there were some uncertainties, whether the governors are going to gang up against Mr. President, whether they are going to support him, okay, or not. So if you are anticipating anything contrary to, what those that are, insiders, in quotes, will want you to do, because definitely President Buhari wouldn't have just woken up on his own and started declaring that he wants to run, and at that particular point in time, okay, the associates may have read the moods, and made some advice.
Decided that it was the right time.
Okay, and made some advice, which, of course, he on his own would have assessed and decided either to go with or not to go with.
Okay.
And in this instance, decided to go with that. So, from the onset, reading the body language of not just the president, but his handlers, okay, it wasn't a surprise to me that he declared.
Okay.
I would have been more surprised
if he said he wasn't running.
If the other way was the case.
Okay. All right, let me come to you, Barrister Ibrahim of Yahweh. We're not looking at the issue of surprise any longer, because I'm sure if I ask you, you'd say you're not surprised also. Okay. But let's look at the timing and, the opportunity he took to make this announcement, the National Executive Committee meeting of the All Progressives Congress, where there's been a whole lot of disagreements and, back and forth. Some persons would say ideology somersaults, extend the tenor. It's unconstitutional to extend the tenor and all of that drama, taking that time to announce his candidature.
I felt, Mr. President, like you already know, I am not surprised. Mr. President has a constitutional right to a second term. He's entitled to aspire to run for a second term. As far as I'm concerned, today is an aspirant. And I will wrestle with the temptation of engaging him very critically on his declaration until his party chose to make him their candidate. Because I know there are also going to be other persons who may also want to contend for that position. If and when he becomes the candidate of the party, I have very strong words for him. But just to say very clearly that the time, Mr. President, the advantage he took to declare is also very strategic. He also wanted to let them know that considering those are going to lead our party for the next 4 years, I'm deeply interested, particularly as I will be embarking on the second missionary journey. But let me also say very strongly that it's not so late. It's about 10 months or thereabout to the elections. Mr. President also wants to be strategic. He wants he wants the entire country, particularly his compatriot at the APC, not to say we didn't know, you didn't declare in time. He has taken that decision. But the election will be held sometimes in February. February, and some person has calculated February 14th.
Oh, that's what the timetable is saying.
Yes, timetable is saying. And to my mind, I realized that February 14th is St. Valentine's Day. And, and in the last few years, people have used St. Valentine's Day as a basis to measure the quality of love their partners or lovers ordinarily have for them. I think Nigerians will show to Buhari and when he emerges as their candidate, the level of love we have for him.
Okay.
Whether Nigeria loves him or not, he will know. It's a critical time in our history. Well, let me say as an individual that the current president is not entitled to be returned back by the masses. I represent the voice of the masses. I feel the pulse. I am personally affected and pained, and I do not think integrity, because the president has said very strongly. First, I have come to the unavoidable conclusion that the president has no integrity. Because if you had said, I'm going to go for just one term, everywhere on the printed media had expected a man with integrity should take the pains to engage Nigerians on the need for him to proceed. He must refer back to his earlier statement where he said, I was going to run for one term. He had made he didn't see it as so what this presupposes is that politics in Nigeria is riddled with lies.
But I'm sure you'd agree also that there's a probability that there were things, he's seen right now and that he thinks he needs another 4 years to tackle.
President Buhari is not new to the office of the president. He was military head of state. You understand how it were. And so some people are already saying from some quarters that it is arising from this kind of attitude that led to the coup d'etat by General Muhammadu Badamasi Babangida. It was a thing. Because as I speak to you, the economy is nosediving. Insecurity has got into a feverish height. In the past, let me also tell you that the indicators that propelled Nigerians to go to Mount Olympus to reject former President Goodluck Jonathan are less than that we have today. Nigerians are not only going to reject President Buhari from my own point of view, from the way things are already
from the way you see things.
Yes, that's why I place that right there from my own point of view. And if I speak for the masses, my point of view represents the point of view of the masses. The masses will reject him at the appropriate time.
It's all right. Time will definitely tell how that pans out. But quickly, let me come to you, Barrister Chima. Do you think, the sudden declaration by the president, would mount pressure on the opposition, especially the main opposition party, the PDP, and then the third force that's been spearheaded or promoted by former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo?
Well, you see, the beauty of the president's declaration is that speculations have been put,
to rest.
Okay. Now, what other persons will be looking out for will be, one, will the APC family, other persons emerge from the APC family to contest the party ticket with Mr. President, or they are going to follow the traditional, pattern of the president having the right of first rejection. Okay? If that goes, it means that automatically the other parties know who their challenger is from the ruling party. Okay? So now it behoves on those other parties to now begin to shop within their own circle somebody that can match the president. By matching the president, will definitely be somebody that will be better than the president, more sellable than the president. When my brother and friends, spoke for the masses, I tend to disagree with my friends and comrades. Because you do not just say that this man will be rejected when you have not put out an alternative. This is the problem that I am having right now in Nigeria. Until we see those that are going to challenge President Buhari, if I see a young person that has credibility, that is hardworking, that Nigerians can rely on, not to make the same mistake, in quotes, that we are now saying that President Goodluck Jonathan administration was better than President Buhari's, and we pushed him out. So we must do our calculation.
So you're saying you've not found a viable candidate?
As at present, the names, you see, the problem is that...
So let me just get it clear before you go on. Is it the fact that you've not found, or you've not seen a viable opposition candidate, or you've not seen a candidate with a viable party? Because, a whole lot of persons would argue there's Fela Durotoye, the motivational speaker that has come out to say, okay, I'm interested. There's also body language from the third force being put together by President Olusegun Obasanjo.
There is no third force being put together by President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Former Governor Donald Duke and,
Now, the issue is this, my brother. We don't have constitutional provision for independent candidacy.
Okay.
And this is 10 months to election. If you do not belong to the dominant political parties, okay, there is no magic. What our people point at, the experience in France, what is happening, in Europe now when young people are taking over leadership. But they do not equally do the political analysis to see that these persons didn't just wake up. They were part of.
They've always been part of the process.
Yes. Okay, and they now cut through that, saw the differences, and saw an opportunity, and cashed in on it to defeat, their former compatriots, if you like.
Okay.
Okay. So here we have about 10 months to a general election. And if you are telling me that you are a serious presidential aspirant, you should be telling Nigerians this is the platform that, even if it is the least known platform, an individual makes a platform to be known.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Your acceptability, your popularity, your industry, your hard work can make an unknown party to be the party to beat.
Okay.
But you cannot do it, at the wee hours, when you will now be struggling to teach the people the emblems and signs of your party. You begin on time to teach them. And this is where I think that we shouldn't just, criticize, condemn for condemning or criticism's sake. Let us begin to work with a credible alternative, both as individuals and as a party structure. Third force, yes, the third force is made up of so many political parties. So which platform are they going to use? That decision has not been made.
Okay.
Who is going to represent the third force? The third force may, at the end of the day, either adopt Buhari, or adopt Atiku, or adopt whoever. And then if they adopt the people that we do not accept, do you think that even if we like, that we will all flow with it? No.
Okay.
No.
So
the point here is that
there will be pressure on the opposition at this time.
Of course, there should be heavy pressure, except if they are not serious.
Okay.
If they are not serious, then they will take it for granted. Okay. But if they are serious, this is time to begin to work, because now 50% chances you already know who you are going to challenge. Do you have the capacity to, remove this person?
Okay.
Do you have structures on ground, to do the work? Do you have the personalities on ground to do the work? This is what Nigerians should be working on. It is not just enough to say that we will reject Buhari. I don't believe in that. I believe in structured work. Okay?
Okay.
Because if we finish all saying that we'll reject Buhari, and then at the end of the day, the opposition throws up because they said here that Nigerians have said they will reject Buhari, and then they throw up a candidate that from the beginning we know is terribly worse than President Buhari, then what will we do?
Okay. All right. Let me come to you, Abraham Oveawi. He's mentioned the issue of probability of, the third force, having another measure, just like the APC came up on seats, the PDP in 2015. Do you see the possibility of another group of political parties coming together, just like it happened with the APC, to take out a political party that is a product of a merger also?
Yes, it's already underway. Let me also say very clearly that political parties in any country, putting Nigeria in perspective,
Okay.
form less than 5% of the electorate. Those who are partisan politicians, who drive the wheel of progress or the wheel of retrogressions in various political parties depending on their ideology and their modus vivendi. They form less than 5%. It was not APC as a party that enthroned President Muhammadu Buhari. Nigerians came out en masse to vote massively because they were tired. Don't forget that the argument that led to the removal of President Muhammadu Goodluck Jonathan was that the treasury was violently looted by vandals in power. These persons are still very there. Their faces are visible. Even though some of them have peregrinated to the APC and they are now saints. Just to say very clearly that the PDP is not the viable alternative we are talking about. Make no mistake about it. When we are talking about the alternative that we unseat President Muhammadu Buhari, it is not the PDP. Because they are built on same feather. It's like the kettle and the pot. They are from same institution. Then we all end up in the fire. We are talking of that very third force, which do not wear the toga of the APC or the PDP in full. There may be some individuals who are aggrieved because of the strength of looting in the APC. And those who are also believing in the actual third force that will take Nigeria to the Eldorado in the PDP. They shall be sieved. With other very political parties, let me also tell you that people talk about the third force about Babas and Joy. It's less than 1% of those that come to the third force. It's also speaking from the other end of the divide, a distant end of the divide. We have several groups are already springing. And as I speak to you now, 24/7, they are meeting, they are interfacing. And within the next few weeks, they will roll out. I also realize that one of the bottlenecks that they will be confronting is the nature and style of our electoral jurisprudence in this country, where money politics now play a dominant role. The money bags currently resides in the APC and in the PDP. And when you are rejecting these two parties that now have the money bags, where elections, INEC have admitted, and the elections in Edo, Ondo, and Anambra was catch and carry. And you know the factors that the third force are going to be engaging, that you need a lot of huge capital to unseat these bandits in power. Let me assure Nigerians that in the next few weeks, a coalition of the third force who mean well for this country, a coalition of that very third force who shall come up with a candidate that will represent the will and aspiration. What is going to be happening in 2019 is different from what we saw in 2015, where it was a case of what the PDP had done wrong and what the APC is determined to do. 4 years going down the lane, the APC cannot show one thing they have started and ended to the benefit of Nigerians. The APC will not be confronted with the opportunity given to Nigerians. How well have you been able to transmogrify it into the collective good and benefit of Nigerians? But you will be answering questions of their stewardship against those who are not saying. And let me also tell you, that very civil society group, that force, who have preoccupied itself in the last few decades and getting government here out, have not resolved that never again we will not continue to remain on the barricades. Okay. We must not seek power. We must reflect those things we know. We will no longer leave power in the hands of politicians who are constantly interested in looting. Right, we must take power. We must lead Nigerians. We will not allow them to lead and will continue to criticize. Right. We must not take office of leadership. Don't be surprised. By 2019, when you see some of us and other progressives going to various consequences, wanting to take power to take our people to Eldorado, enough is enough.
But you know, I have a little bit of issue with the fact that you sound like it's, you know, nothing on the scorecard for this administration at all. I mean, there's got to be some credit for them. If, you know, we have to look at things sincerely, there's got to be some credit for them. Take, for instance, look at the country's foreign reserves. It's been shored up. That's more money in the foreign reserves, and that's something this administration should take credit for.
Let me also mention to you while it pains. What is the very important? Let me tell you. until the average man on the streets feels the impact of governance, until the average man on the streets live a life worthy, as it were, of what benefit is beefing up our foreign reserve when the average Nigerian cannot eat 1 square meal?
Okay.
Of what importance is the foreign reserve, where insecurity has pervaded the entire horizon? As I speak to you, in Goodluck Jonathan's time, we didn't have prevalence of these attacks on various states. It was limited to the northeast. As I speak to you, name it, Edo, Taraba. States in the south are now suffering mentally. Fulani herdsmen are ravaging our society. Our people are not happy.
Let me just hold you. I'm sure if I allow you.
This government wrote on the base of propaganda.
Okay.
4 years down the line, show us you're still watching.
All right. Let's just step on the brakes a little bit.
We'll step on it, but let me just mention to you that when this episode was coming, 4 things they said, and you be the judge. They had mentioned very clearly employment. How many persons they have employed? But now they have not converted it to creation of job. Only say that there's a dichotomy between creating job. That if I bring a contractor to do this road, 10 persons come to do menial jobs, it means I have created 10 jobs. They have not converted employment of 3 million persons to now creation of 3 million jobs. They promise they're going to give 1 meal per day to students in the school. They promise all manner of things which you can only find. And they created the impressions that the previous administration didn't have the capacity to do all this. That in 6 months we will get power. In 6 months, let me also tell you, they told us that they were going to ensure that $1 is equal to 1 naira. Under their watch, they said subsidy was a scam. In the history of this country, the amount this current government have used as fuel subsidy is mind-blowing. The history of this country, fuel has never been this increased. They told us just to eliminate the issue of subsidy. Right, we must increase it to 145. And you want 145 to still go to Matolikos to speak positively of them, well, they will be rejected.
Nigerians will decide that. So let's just hold it a little bit. Let me come to you, Barrister Shima Williams. Let's look at the implication of the president's declaration, especially for the APC, looking at the fact that they would be heading for an elective convention in the nearest future, very soon.
Yeah, I think it's very, very strategic for Mr. President and his handlers,
okay,
not to take chances, okay? Because within the APC, from what we've been reading, is almost like a divided house, okay? And the only way for Mr. President not to slip off the radar is to first, before those elective conventions, declare his interest, where he wants to be. And now begins to look at those that will help him actualize his interest, and then equally to try to help them too. This is internal political dynamic.
So you're saying we should expect some drama from the forthcoming national elective convention of the party?
If our politicians are serious people, serious-minded people,
okay,
then we can be talking about drama. But like Abraham has pointed out, our politicians, majority of them, they tell you to stand, begin to run. Because that's what they actually mean to tell you. And if they tell you, please run away, it means stay here and see what I'm doing. Okay, so you cannot really pin them down to say, this is what I can hold an average Nigerian politician, to do or not to do, with the exception of very minute few. Okay? Now, this is where issue of expecting drama happening, because the last neck of the APC, pundits, were of the view that it would be highly turbulent. Then what happened? Was it actually turbulent? when the same governors that were thought to have been opposed to Mr. President, for whatever reason, stepped after the president had made his position known. I mean, we have to read.
But if you remember also, talking about the governors, they had a meeting with the president on this same issue at the presidential villa, and there was some sort of
compromise,
inclusiveness, and they had to, have their own meeting before coming back to say, okay, we agree with the president.
Now, you see, if you're an honest person, you don't blow hot and cold. Okay? Whatever position you take, don't forget you're dealing with human beings like yourself, who has feelings too. It is the same governors. What did they see different? Because they are the same persons that agreed and pushed the neck into 1 year tenure extension. Okay? So what did they see then that changed how many weeks later? Okay? Other than the fact that Mr. President had, analyzed based on advice. Because Mr. President was present when the tenure extension was agreed upon. Okay?
Yeah.
And the issue of constitutionalism, for me, is of little consequence. Because parties are at liberty to take decisions that will lead to effective governance of their party affairs.
But you also would agree that there's a constitution governing the party.
Yes. Now, the point I am making here is this. If the convention or the NEC has the powers under the Constitution to take some decisions, so what will be constitutional contravention if they so take that decision, which was taken almost unanimously?
The way they took it.
Yes.
That was the issue the president had with it, the way they took it. Just so they don't play into the hands of the opposition, have too many litigations coming up from all of those issues by group members also.
That position, okay, is actually sold to the opposition by the APC.
Okay.
Right now. And as it is, except the APC goes for a full convention, elective one,
which is what's being planned,
and follows, because I had Mr. President pleading for waivers.
Yes, for those holding offices now.
Yes,
to be able
now
to
if you waive,
contest again
if you waive for those persons that are holding office not to meet the APC constitutional requirement of stepping down at least a month before the
no, they'll still step down a month before.
So there is no waiver. So you shouldn't talk about any waiver. Because if you follow the constitutional stipulations, nobody is giving you anything. So he can only plead for the APC family to re-elect these persons.
And maybe that was what he was trying to say.
Not to talk of waivers when, the stipulations, you have asked them to follow it. Okay, so otherwise will be what he is trying to run away from. He has opened the eyes of everybody, to mount scrutiny on their processes and see where to cash in on any perceived illegality within the APC party constitution, to bring them down. So the point here is that whatever, it is their internal business.
Okay.
When they finish their internal business, they will face the other parties and face the whole lot of Nigerians. Okay?
Precisely.
Now, let me use this opportunity to correct one impression. The third force, as talked by my friend, Abraham, is not the same third force of Obasanjo. Let Nigerians get this clear. National intervention movements had already started before Obasanjo talked about third force. So Obasanjo did not create third force. Let's correct this.
Okay.
So there might be two third forces coming out.
Or even several.
Okay? The people's third force, as represented by the national intervention movement, where the civil society And some progressive parties have agreed to work together to salvage this country.
Okay.
And another third force engineered by our revered and respected former President Olusegun Obasanjo, which we throw up the same persons that he condemned. Okay? The same person, because he's not going to manufacture anybody from the moon.
Well, you can't say for now until, you know, the...
I say which may.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, but the point is that Nigerians should, you know, understand that distinction so that when they hear third force, they do not take it to be the third force created by President Obasanjo. The third force was already in operation before President Obasanjo declared his own third force. And I know that there's been in the social media an attempt to mix up, okay, all this as if it is one. But I think some have come out to clear the air to say that, look, we are not part of Obasanjo's third force.
Okay.
We are part of the people's third force. So that distinction Nigerians must understand so that they are not disillusioned at the end of the day where they want to go to.
Okay. All right, let me come to you, Barrister Abraham Ovia. We're going to wrap up with, you know, expectations from, you know, the APC as they head to the national working, as they head to the national convention, elective convention, actually. Let's look at the probability of some drama playing out right now, all right, with what's happened with the National Working Committee, probability that virtually all of them might want to return. And so there would be that, there just might be that, you know, 1 month everybody decides to resign at the same time to contest. And then what happens to the party? What happens to the party structure? That's one. Then another issue I'd love for us to quickly look at also as we wrap up is, you know, the probability of the president, you know, saying or adding that caveat that they can recontest just to create a soft landing for himself. Because all of these people, if you notice, were people that have always said that they would love for the president to recontest. So let's just look at that quickly.
See, let me also say that it's all about politics.
Okay.
I like to wrestle with the temptation of wanting to dabble in the intrigues of internal politics of any political party. In this respect,
but we can't shy away from it right now.
The APC. Let me also say clearly that I expect that the APC as a party must work in accordance with their constitution.
Okay.
The constitution says you resign a month before another convention, which if you are not interested in contesting, there is nothing wrong. If they resign, they can consult an interim.
So probability of a caretaker committee
yes, interim. Yeah, caretaker is the same thing.
Even administrative.
Yeah, administrative
just it's one
just
month.
to drive
Okay.
the process just for 1 month to also allow the process to ordinarily move. What was bemused? What I mean is Mr. President saying they cannot contest again if their own constitution allows them to contest again. How does it justify that when he's exercising his constitutional right to contest for his second term? On the other hand, want to preclude other persons.
No, but he has not said. He has not said.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're also speaking on at that high. Just to say that once the law allows you, I started from the very beginning by saying that President Muhammadu Buhari has a right to contest for his second term.
Okay.
What becomes his fate at the appropriate time will be determined by Nigerians. Let me say very clearly that 2019 election will be more strategic, be more issue-based. Those who have formed the very bulwark for reshaping our politics. We're talking about the third force of the tripod, the civil society as it were, which formed the natural third force in between capitalists and government. They have risen to the occasion. And never again will not remain any more just at the barricade, waiting every 4 years to criticize, waiting every 4 years to engage government. We want to take powers, want to take positions of leadership to shaping
we're definitely looking
the political jurisprudence of this
We're
country.
definitely looking forward to that. But, let's stick within the drama, we're expecting from the, elected
We're not continue to
convention.
allow all these things to fly without taking practice step to reshaping, because it's very obvious that because we now have career politicians.
You have them everywhere in the world.
Yes, but they are progressively minded. When you complain of X and you have the privilege of getting into power, you do worse than the man you have complained of. It means that you don't have a second chance. And let me take from the quote of President Olusegun Obasanjo. I may not like certain things about him, but he had mentioned that failure is failure. You don't reinforce it because the outcome remains failure. I feel like my very learned and respected senior has posited clearly that very thought force must, as a matter of urgency, put our house in order to determine who is that very viable alternative which we shall take to the market square to sell for Nigerians to buy in order to reshaping their destiny and their future.
All right, so I think we're just going to have to leave it at this right now. There's a whole lot happening, and definitely as they unfold, we're going to come back here to discuss and look at all of these issues. We're counting down to 2019. You can be rest assured it's going to be much more interesting, and a whole lot of drama would unfold as we get closer to the polls. All right, so I prepare for that. But do remember, I'd love to, share your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think about the president's declaration of interest in a second term in office. All right, so share your thoughts with us via Twitter at ITVRadioNG. Use the hashtag TMI when you tweet. We'd love to see all of that. Thanks a whole lot, Barrister Abraham Oviawi, for your time this morning. And thank you so much, Barrister Chima Williams, for your time also. I mean,
thank you.
Even in the face of all of the hurdles you had to go through this morning, thank you for coming through. And that's how we're wrapping up on this discussion. Thanks a whole lot for being a part of it. Like I said, keep your tweets coming through. Would love to hear from you. Hashtag TMI at ITVRadioNG. Hit the follow button when you find us. Just stay tuned.